On the hunt for comfortable, timeless Western boots? You already know the best place to shop for quality boots is at your local Tacova store. So stop by Tacova's Nashville, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by Ryman Auditorium. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from. Grab a cold one as you shop and get fitted by a pro. Tacova's Nashville is at your service, and you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of their expert staff. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick new boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tacova's. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Nashville, we've got Grammy Award-winning professor of music and assistant band director at TSU, Prof. Jenkins. Not to mention, he made our theme music. We're talking about the history of Black music in Nashville and how we got the nickname Music City. CityCast Nashville is presented by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tacova's. It's June 24th, 2024. I'm Grace Fuse, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Hey, Prof. Jenkins, how's it going? Can you tell us about yourself?
Wow, yes. Who am I? So I am Larry Jenkins. I'm Larry J. Most people call me Prof. Jenkins nowadays. I am a musician, a trumpet player. I'm a professor, composer, arranger, producer. It's just like all these things that are, I guess, jumbled up into this one musical bag. I'm someone who, loves music, loves the community, loves Nashville. And yeah, that is me in a nutshell.
You're an educator at heart. Could you please just educate us a little bit about why Nashville is called Music City?
Yes. So this is an important story. I definitely want to make sure that Nashville understands just the complexity of it. So with the name Music City, we are called that really because of the Fifth Jubilee Singers. The Fifth Jubilee Singers being an iconic, historic ensemble, even to the point to, in a sense, keeping Fist afloat at one point with their performances and with, the revenue that they were bringing in. And they're just a staple of Nashville culture, of music culture, music history worldwide. And anyway, with the Fifth Jubilee Singers, they performed and went on a crazy trek. You should definitely tap into the Fifth Jubilee Singers, story about their journey overseas. But to get to the key point in this, we were dubbed, I'll say, Music City in Nashville because of the Queen of England. Hearing them, it was one of those things that said, you must be from the Music City. You know what I mean? And thus, Music City was born.
I love it. It's such a great story. So on the other end of what you call the Grammy Mile is Tennessee State University, where you teach and serve as assistant music director for the Aristocrat of Bands.
Come on.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. The Aristocrat of Bands is another just super, super important entity. And I'm not saying that because I'm an aristocrat myself. But our band was founded in 1946. Even though we did have instrumental ensembles and music on TSU's campus before 1946 still. But 1946, in the organized form that we know as the marching band, the AOB, that is when our band really got kicking off. Our band was performing. And HBCU band, high stepping, energetic, everything that you would expect. But our musical selection has no limits. And there was a professional football game that our band played at. And the announcer hearing the band actually was like, no, this must be the Aristocrat of Bands. It's a crazy story how that was dubbed for our band. A lot of people don't know that. From there, our band we call it a band of firsts, done a lot of things and paved the way, for a lot of programs in this regard. So before the Super Bowl was called the Super Bowl, the ALB performed at the National Football Championship. Our band has performed in 4 presidential inaugurations, performed on the White House lawn. So I got to meet Quincy Jones. And that was one of the craziest moments of my life. He's like a legend, an icon to me. This was for the opening of the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC. So that's why we were at the White House that day. But anyway, on there directing the band. And next thing you know, Quincy Jones, he's actually comes up, he sits beside the ladder and listens to the band. And when I came down the ladder, he said, that band is incredible. The TSU band, you guys are incredible. And in that moment, I think I just froze. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream, do a cartwheel, all that at once because it's Quincy Jones. You know, we were also the first to win a Grammy, which is just an incredible feat for a marching band to be able to achieve the highest musical award that you can get. So I'm so proud of the program. I'm a product of that program. I marched in the band, was a drum major, did all those things. So it's just, I'm very, very proud of our legacy.
And okay, about this Grammy Award winning
Yes.
album with Aristocrat of Bands,
Yes.
Urban Hymnal. Can you tell us about how you developed the sound for that album? Because I heard there was something involving a napkin.
Yes. So the Urban Hymnal was first off, a crazy ride. Just putting all this together because it hadn't been done before in this type of way. The idea did just get jotted down on a napkin. We were at Cinco de Mayo on White Bridge. Shout out Cinco de Mayo, one of my favorite restaurants.
I love it.
We, as myself, Sir the Baptist, Double A. Double A is also an alum of TSU. He was in the band, super producer. But sitting there and kind of just jotting down some ideas. And it came to the moment where it was like, we should just do an album. We went at it definitely, full steam ahead, recording the band in the band room and taking all those stems for the people who produce, all my music heads, taking a whole bunch of stems and mashing these stems down into trying to get a full band into a DAW, into Logic. You know what I mean? It's just craziness. You know, we have some amazing artists to come in and offer their talents and their expertise, from the likes of a Donald Lawrence or Jacqueline Carr and just Jay Ivy. And then, we ended up putting it out. And it was one of those things where it was something we wanted to do, something that we wanted to have the students to experience, something that they got behind and really bought into, make that type of impact so we can make history. So I'm still eternally grateful for that moment for us, for the students. If you see that moment, they went crazy when we won. Went crazy.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Running around, screaming. I'm in tears. It's insane.
Just for the Nashville music nerds, just because I'm curious,
Yeah.
Did you record all the parts separately or did you record it live?
So we recorded, all the band things were recorded live for sure.
Cool.
What we did was when we had a mic in the band room, and so we would do multiple takes, and my music heads would understand this. We would get some with the whole band. And I'm talking about with a mic, the room mic, you know what I mean? Then we may break it down and say, all right, let's get the trombones to play. And we'll catch more of that voice so we can isolate it in the stem. We did some with, let's say it's some incredible players, like your top players. You may take the top players and layer on top of that in another room. And then we'll send that mixed with the production to the artist and get vocals back. Or sometimes the artist will be there and come in and record vocals, so it was a lot of just back and forth energy and making it happen.
Yeah, I feel like there are enough production nerds in Nashville that somebody will care about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, just because I'm curious, I actually grew up in DC and you went to Howard, right?
Hey, yes, I did.
So how would you compare the culture around Black music in DC to Nashville?
It's different. DC has one distinct style of music that separates DC from everyone else, which is go-go.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a flavor in DC that is its own. You know what I mean? Nashville has an amazing culture of music here as well. I actually consider it more of a melting pot of styles and genres. Here, I think we have more of a mixture of things, with blues being, still a regional heavy hitter for Black music. You still have jazz, not as heavy as the DC area, but you still have jazz. The hip hop scene in Nashville is insane. I think one of the most underrated hip hop scenes in the country. I will stand on it.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble for talking about DC on this podcast. So let's get into the culture of music here and where it stems from. Both Fisk and TSU, these iconic HBCUs, are centered around Jefferson Street in North Nashville.
Yes.
Can you give our listeners the short musical history of that incredibly influential neighborhood?
I'm so glad you mentioned Jefferson Street with that, and even both those universities, because so many musicians have been up and down and in between those two schools and up and down Jefferson Street over the years. One of the things about it is it was, again, an epicenter for music, for Black music, but anybody who was anybody performed on this street. You might see Louis Armstrong on Jefferson Street. It was that type of energy. Shoot, little known fact, Jimi Hendrix lived on this street. It's one of those places where you would get your jazz, you would get your blues, you would have students. I know some stories from students from TSU would almost like get in trouble. Like, I'm about to go out late night and go play. I'm about to sneak out and go play. Shoot, this artist might be in town. I'll just say for instance, let's say somebody like, I'm just gonna throw Duke Ellington out there. Let's say somewhere like that type of stature came in town and said, "Hey, shoot, I'm looking for alto sax player for tonight." This is how some of these universities can come into play. Might go to TSU and see who's got chops, who can play, and have them come out. But it was definitely a centerpiece for Nashville, for Black music, for Black businesses, restaurants, bars, clubs, everything that you can think of. That was on Jefferson Street.
How are local musicians now reclaiming that despite the interstate cutting the neighborhood in half and all the structural barriers literally in place?
It's unfortunate how Jefferson Street was done, in regards to almost suppressing some of that beautiful culture that Jefferson Street had and still has. It lives on. The music is still alive. The people are still producing this music. And by produce, I mean just making it. That culture will never leave. I think local musicians are reclaiming it by just being active. There are so many local musicians and artists, producers, all these folks who are getting it in Nashville right now. And I mean, the energy is top tier. There's so many I can name that I see. Your Brian Browns, your Daisha McBrides, your Vibe Out, your Tim Gent. There's so many. On the countryside, Nick Tabron. Right? There are just so many people who are putting in the work and really energizing the cultural side of the music. And that spills into your Jefferson Streets, but not just the Jefferson Street. It's across the city. Any venue, any day, you're seeing these people really get to work. And that's why I said earlier, this Nashville scene is just insane. I can't wait until, some more of the world zooms in on that side of it. It's more than, and shout out to my country artists. Because they are killing it. There's a lot of Black country artists who are killing it right now. The Black Opry, killing it. But the other scene, the hip hop scene, the R&B scene, the pop scene, the jazz scene, all these things are here and they're existing and thriving. So I can't wait till the rest of the world really zooms in beyond what they may get fed to them. I'll put it that way.
So on the topic of country music, we've got this new Beyonce album, and a lot of people are talking about Black country artists. Mm-hmm. But the history of Black artists and country music goes way beyond the beginning of the genre.
Yes.
For people who want to dig deeper, who are your essential artists?
Ooh, my essential artists, you can't go wrong with Charlie Pride, historically. But my essential country artist, I would say Madeline Edwards. She is absolutely incredible. One of the most soulful voices that you will ever hear. Stephanie Jocks, you have Larissa, Willie Jones. These folks off the top of my head are just incredible. And there's so many more. You see Shabuzi making waves right now. The energy is there. And I can nerd out too. And we can trace the banjo, all the way back to Africa as well. And I'm just glad that the space seems to be opening up. In part two, what Beyonce did. Reese Palmer, I saw her on the documentary speaking about some of these things. And I think what's going to be important in light of the viewpoint that's coming now on to these artists and to the space, I think what's going to be important is for people to continue to support it, to continue to embrace that with no barrier, and really allow the music to be what's at the forefront the most. The music, the storytelling, the songwriting. Let that be what carries this forward.
So, on the topic of essential artists, obviously we have to talk about your band Brassville.
We just released our first single, and we've been around for a few years. We've done Jazz Fest, we've traveled, all these things, but this is literally our first single, and it's called Sketches of Wade, and it's based on Wade in the Water, the popular spiritual. And with this one, we took a different take on it. And what we ended up doing was, kind of giving a nod to our ancestors. So in the beginning, you hear us on the instruments, almost like we're crying out, right? And then the rhythm starts to pick up. So in the history of the song, that song's about movement. That means we're going to get ready to go, about to move. And you hear the movement pick up in the song and the steady pace pick up in the piece. Then at the end, it's all about, now it's present day, we're progressing, let's move, let's keep it pushing. That's where we are. And at the end, it's drive, right? And so, that song's an example of what I was trying to say, I guess, with it, like just taking what we feel and making that come through the music.
That's so cool. We connected with you thanks to the great Julie Height.
Yay!
At NPR.
Yes.
And we are so lucky to have you write our theme music. Can you tell us a little about your inspiration or your process for that?
Yes. I wanted and first off, shout out Julie. Julie is incredible. And, this was something that I wanted to feel, for one, upbeat. I wanted it to.
Yeah, we're fun,
Yeah, you know what I mean? You feel me?
We're cool.
Too cool. And definitely wanted that to come through, the fun, wanted the energy. Also wanted to feel a little bit anticipatory. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, this is about to start. Like, this is about to happen. And I think the last little piece of it too is wanting it to have a little bit of like some earworm quality. By the time you tap in, which I'm sure everybody's will be doing, and you better do. But as you're tapped in, you know what's coming. So that was the energy behind it for sure. I had so much fun making this theme, and I'm forever grateful for it. It was just, I had a ball with it.
Where would you go around Nashville for like music discovery if you were whatever, some random day you're like, I want to hear some new music?
Yes, a couple things. There is a flamingo jam session that happens, and you end up finding a lot of really cool, dope musicians and artists who are coming just to share. And, that's one of the purest forms of hearing music, when you're coming just to share it. Like, there's nothing else attached to it. And so that's one for sure. Also, this wouldn't be a particular place, but this is a style of show that I think you should always watch out for in Nashville, and that's the writers' rounds. They have those pop up around town, and I've discovered so many incredible artists from going to writers' rounds and sitting and listening.
Absolutely. That's one of the coolest things about Nashville is there are so many of these like writers' rounds. It's so music discovery focused, and I just think that's so cool. Just wrapping up here, last question. What do you hope people take away from this conversation about the history of Black music in Nashville, outside of country, mainly?
I hope that, people take away really the fact that the culture is here and has been here. Understanding that there are a lot who are unsung, so many people who have contributed to what we know as the culture in Nashville, so many who have laid the groundwork that, you don't hear about. So I really hope that people, take away, for one, some interest, and, start to dive in even further. Look to see something that I didn't cover. You know what I mean? Go find out more about the Black music in this city, Jefferson Street, the culture, and go support. I hope that and lastly, I hope this, really makes you want to go support and, really be a part yourself, be a part of the culture and contribute to the culture. That is music in Nashville, that is Black music in Nashville, that is culture in Nashville, do your part, and that's what I really hope we take away from it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a great conversation. So glad to learn more.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it. All right, Marie, kick it to the theme music.
Yeah.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye!